sorry about all this.
Gentlemen, this is Mando number 5.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel, Mando number 5, and I'm Keith Guppy. So, yes, it's Friday night and welcome to another episode of Mando's Best, where I look at some of the iconic characters, vehicles, ships, playsets from the modern Star Wars collecting era from 1995 until now. So this week, we're going to look at really famous Jedi Master from the Clone Wars. Yes, Kit Fisto. I want to shout out to Totally Taylor Retro Hunters for the suggestion this week. Great character. Not seen very much in live action, but a real star of some of the Clone Wars animated series and the cartoon series going back all those years ago. But sadly met a bit of a weak demise in the Revenge of the Sith. So as usual, I'll give you a bit of a flyby of all the single carded figures and some of the bigger packs you can get with Kit Fisto in it. We'll have a look at all the characters in a bit of detail, and we'll also do Mando's 5 facts of the week for Kit Fisto. So in the Clone Wars animated series, you had some cool scenes. You had there was an arc of episodes where he's fighting General Grievous, and I'll show you a clip of that in a moment. And there were some fantastic underwater scenes, both in the Cartoon Network series from the early 2000s, and also from the animated Clone Wars series as well. And again, I'll put up some clips for you to watch.
You might have been a proud warrior once, but now you're just a pawn in Dooku's game. I wield great power, Jedi fool. That power will only consume you. How quickly power can change hands. Surrender and I promise you will die swiftly. Stop him!
As always, if you're enjoying the channel, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and chuck in your ideas and I'll give you a shout out if your pick of a character, vehicle, or ship gets on one of my videos. So here's a very brief look at overview of the kit fists I've got here today. I've ordered a couple more, so they may be here by Friday. If not, then I'll have to put up some pictures. But yeah, you got the first one that was produced with a cheeky smile. Then you've got one from the Saga line here and here. Revenge of the Sith version, which is the same as that Saga version. And then you've got the real Clone Wars, which is again is the same, exactly the same as the Saga one from here. You've got one of the Clone Wars Dark Skies version, which I really like. And then you've got the latest version, which is the Kit Fisto from the Vintage Collection. So quick overview, but let's get into them in a lot of detail when we go through them. So let's have a look at Mando's 5 facts of the week. Yeah, so there were 10 single-carded versions of the 3.75-inch Kit Fisto, which is quite a lot for a character that wasn't in the actual movies very much. There's also 2 double packs, really rare double packs. I think they came with droids, which I haven't got. And there was 2 battle packs that it was in as well. One, a really rare version. But again, sadly, I haven't got either of those 2, which is a bit annoying. First released in the light blue Saga line. And last release was in 2011, VC29, the Vintage Collection line. And that is also the most expensive Kit Fisto you can get. An unpunched one could cost you up to sort of £150 in really good condition. And that's Mando's 5 Facts of the Week.
In these matters, trust your insight, we do. May the Force be with you.
Fisto was quite famous for his little cheesy grin he gave when he sort of killed someone or did something with the Force powers, and you saw that in the Clone Wars and also in the animated series a couple of times. Really weird feature, and some of the characters got a bit of a smile on them, or they've got kind of big lips. But he was a lot sort of eviler, or more of a Jedi fighting Jedi master than those little clips really let you believe.
Ahsoka, you're up first. Take the Prince and Senator Tills.
Got it.
So the first incarnation was from the Light Blue Saga line from 2002. Not a bad effort really. They kind of, pretty basic picture of the actor in the costume, but they did do a reasonable attempt of sort of producing his little grin he had in Attack of the Clones from that famous clip. And it's not bad, you've got his like head tentacles and stuff on there, and it's not a bad attempt. In fact, they didn't reproduce this version of Kit Fisto, this figure version again, with the line. So it's it's the only way you can get that actual version, but you can get this for sort of less than a tenner, probably about £7 if you want to get it from 2002. And then in 2003, a year later, they brought out a completely different mold, and I really like this mold. This is from the Clone Wars line, the real Clone Wars. So they weren't like the Cartoon Network versions. They're a lot more rugged, and a lot more. They look like you'd expect him to look during the Clone Wars. And this has got some great gear on him. He's looking kind of up, like his chest is puffed out. So looking pretty damn cool. I think the colouring on his skin is probably the best sort of colouring you get on any of the examples of the figures, and he's kind of got no t-shirt on, which I think you see that in the animated series when he's underwater, I think. But look at the clip carefully when I put it up later on. So part of the Army of the Republic, and there's a picture on the back. Again, you can probably get that for about £25–30. One of the more expensive single Kit Fistos that you can get. But I really like that line, a really underrated line for me. So any of you fancy collecting it, go for it, because it's a really cool line. And then from the Revenge of the Sith, you have got another version, and this version was repeated a couple of times with its hard goods sort of skirt and trousers. So, you know, it was okay, but really not much better than the Saga one from a few years before. That was from 2005, obviously. You can pick that one up for probably about £15. But it obviously come with a quite a nice stand, as most of these figures from the Revenge of the Sith did. So, Kit Fisto from 2005, about £15 if you want to get him now on eBay. And then you've got another release of the same Real Clone Wars version in the Saga collection packaging, Saga number 055. As I said, pretty cool, but exactly the same as before. But this time you got a picture of him doing that famous, you know, he's pushing away the battle droid with C-3PO's head in the Mustafar arena. And obviously you do get the little hologram. This was a Rebel Trooper in this series. But yeah, again, that one there is probably only about £15. Then you've got another one from the Saga series, but this is the Episode 3 Greatest Battles collection. So they had a little line, I think there was 14, where they would have selected characters from different battles in this line. This one's a bit rarer to get hold of, so you probably have to spend £20-25 to get this one, although that is a repeat of the Revenge of the Sith action figure version, exactly the same, but a little bit more expensive. The package is quite good. I like the background because it's obviously supposed to be the Coruscant background when he's about to fight Darth Sidious, so it's kind of dark and demonic in the background. But yeah, and there it is on the back. Again, you get the holographic figure. I think that's Obi-Wan Kenobi in that. But yeah, like I said, about £25 for that one. And then you've got one of two from the Dark Skies line. This is probably my favourite, and this was probably the most expensive one you have to get. As I said earlier on, it's £45 this one, and it's very, very unique. It's in the cold weather gear. It's got his snowshoes, its goggles, a really unique figure. Now they do one other single carded figure in this line. This one's CW60. I'll put a picture of the other one's like in his normal outfit, but again, that's quite hard to get hold of as well, and I imagine that one is probably also about £45, but I'll put a picture up just to the side so you can see how they compare. Both quite rare, like most of the Clone Wars figures are these days. Also, I'll just leave that there a minute. Also, there were two Clone Wars from the Clone Wars line from 2009 and the red sort of Clone Wars line from 2009. Both of those have got like his what would you call it, submarine sort of backpack thing that you see from the clip that I'll put up a bit later on when he's underwater. Sadly, I've not got either of those. I have ordered one, but it hasn't come here on time. If it comes on before Friday, I'm recording this on Wednesday, Thursday. If it comes before Friday, I'll put a picture up for you, or I'll show it up for you. But otherwise, here's a picture of both of those. Both of them will cost you, probably the blue one from the blue Clone Wars line will probably cost you about £25. The red one's harder to get, probably more like £35. But pretty cool. Again, I think they're pretty unique sculpts actually. I will show you the 2-packs and the battle packs a bit later on. The battle packs, if I forget to mention later on, do have soft goods on them, so they are quite unique, the battle pack ones, and they're also the same as the two versions I think in the Droid Factory double sets as well. It's got soft goods, so that's yet another mould of Kit Fisto out there. And then probably the most expensive, unsurprisingly, is this one. Is Kit Fisto VC 29, and you know, this one's pretty good nick, some punched, pretty good card. That one there will probably cost you anywhere between £90 and £150. Things have settled down a little bit on VC01, as most of you know, but again, that's probably still £100, £120 figure anywhere, especially if it's unpunched and in pretty good nick like this one is. And there it is on the back. You actually see the original Saga version that I showed you earlier on the back. So yeah, so that was the latest one released in 2010. And as I said, I'm missing 2 single ones, I'm missing 2 double packs, and I'm missing the 2 battle packs. I'll talk a bit more about that later. One of those battle packs is very, very rare, and I'll pop up pictures of that a bit later on.
Yeah, as I said, the 2 battle packs, which showed the Jedi versus Darth Sidious, the scene where he actually dies. One of the Jedi packs from I think it's the anniversary collection, 3rd anniversary collection, is quite common. You probably pick that up for about £35. But the blue Clone Wars style battle pack from a few years later is really, really difficult to get a hold of. I looked on eBay this week. There were none for sale at all. I don't really know what they're worth. I would imagine you'd have to pay probably £100 plus for that battle set. And I'll put some pictures up because it looks pretty cool, and it's something you very rarely see on eBay. And also having got, like I said, the 2 packs, which is the Droid Factory set, and that would cost you probably about £45. That set, and they're all quite hard to get hold of. And also the Legacy Collection 2 pack from I think it was 2010. Very difficult again to get, and that's probably about £60 as well. But again, here are some pictures of what they look like. And as I said, his demise in Revenge of the Sith was a bit pathetic, and I would have really loved a longer battle. And I know there was some clips or some filming that was shelved later on, which was originally going to show a longer battle, which is a real shame for Kit Fisto.
Master Windu. I take it General Grievous has been destroyed then. I must say you're here sooner than expected.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
Not yet.
It's treason, then.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what's Mando's best of the week? Well, I've gone for a bit of an unusual one because I think it's really cool and unique. And that is Kit Fisto CW60 in the cold weather gear. A really cool pack. As I said, you get his like little, what we call them, snow shoes. It's the goggles, the sort of Parker coat, if you like. But a really cool one. That is so difficult to get hold of as well. You know, you're talking £60, £70 to get hold of that. But this week, that one there is Mando's best. So that's it for this week, and I'll see you again next Friday. Take it easy, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mando number 5.